Welcome to the Everything Works Out for Us podcast. My name is Marina, and I'm so happy that you're here to join me on this journey of embracing a growth mindset that's grounded in gratitude and self-awareness. I'm an REBT mindset life coach, actor, singer, content creator, and the bigger sister that you always wanted. And I'm ready to start turning our mental and emotional roadblocks into road maps. In each episode, I holistically utilize psychology, spirituality, and my own personal experiences to strive to empower you to step into your power and deeply connect to both your inner knowing and the world around you. Let's grow together. Hi, my beautiful listeners. Welcome back to the pod. This week, as you can tell from the title, we're going to be diving into something that I think is extremely prevalent in our culture, yet extremely under-discussed. I think it's really common, especially for people in their 20s, to feel lost, directionless, feel like they're behind in some sense, feel like either they have all these dreams and aspirations that they want to do, but they feel like they can't achieve them or they don't know how to achieve them, etc. And there's this great sense of longing, I think, of, well, if I only had enough money, I could do this, or if only I looked a certain way, I could have this, or even just a general sense of unfulfillment, but not really knowing why or how to even feel fulfilled at all. So if any of this resonates with you, this episode is for you, but first and foremost, know that you are not alone in these feelings and there are ways out of them. But as I love to say, self-awareness comes first. So to just give a quick rundown, this week I'm really focusing on how the rigidity of our goals can actually be hurting us and how our core beliefs lead to our undesired self-fulfilling prophecies. But again, we are not trapped and we are not victims. So let's dive in. As I love to do, let's start with some psychology. So those who suffer from procrastination know that sometimes you procrastinate on things you genuinely want to do and you don't know why you're even putting it off. When this happens to me, it's an incredibly frustrating feeling. If I wanted to do something, why wouldn't I just go out and do it? This is one of the major ways that we as humans self-sabotage. And why do we self-sabotage? To give a blanket reason, we self-sabotage as a form of control. If we are the ones that let ourselves down, no one else can cause us pain first. Self-sabotage usually manifests itself in very subconscious ways. I want to chat about the pain-pleasure principle. If you find yourself procrastinating something that your conscious mind genuinely wants to do, the pain-pleasure principle suggests that it's because you associate more pain with doing the thing than the pleasure of actually having it. And as humans, we are always moving towards pleasure or moving away from pain. So if your subconscious or even conscious mind is associating more pain with doing the task versus the pain of not getting the task done, you're way more likely to procrastinate said thing. But if we can learn to associate pleasure with the journey, then we're less likely to procrastinate because it becomes less about receiving the product or reward of the actual thing and more about the pleasure that we get from the journey to get to the actual thing. Something that I'm grappling with personally is goal setting, and trust me, I never thought that I would be a person to say this, but I'm now wary of setting super high goals for myself because so much of the time we set a goal, we think it's because we're going to feel a certain way once we achieve it. We want the giant house, the career success, the huge group of friends, etc. Ultimately because of how we think it's going to make us feel, right? We wouldn't want to be rich if we didn't think that it would make us feel happy or secure or confident, etc. But the issue here is that if we don't address what's going on internally, if we achieve these goals and still don't feel these feelings, we're always going to be looking for the next best thing. The grass will always be greener. One of the biggest challenges that humans have is to appreciate what we have now, to start allowing in the feelings that we want to feel now without reaching for things to try to make us feel those ways. I think it's what underlies the statement, money can't buy happiness. And of course, that's a very loaded statement. As a blanket, no, money cannot buy happiness. It can buy you a Lululemon Align tank that makes you feel happy momentarily, right? But if you feel lonely and sad and unsatisfied in your life, having that money isn't going to make you feel not lonely anymore. However, money absolutely does bring feelings of security and safety. There's a whole Maslow's hierarchy of needs that comes into play here. If we do not have basic human needs, such as shelter, food, protection, health, we can't work our way up the pyramid and have healthy, loving relationships, and therefore we cannot have high self-esteem or self-actualization. So money is absolutely a stepping stone to happiness because it does bring some of our physiological and safety needs, which are necessary. I digress a bit. Okay, but if we are going off of the baseline that all your basic needs are met, then no, money does not buy happiness. Neither does losing all the weight, achieving the top position at your dream career, getting married, or any of the goals that you may have. The journey to achieving those goals needs to be filled with true self-love, self-acceptance, and gratitude, and those things aren't found in the actual product of those goals. A loveless marriage, an 80-hour work week, or an eating disorder could easily be products of the goal that you thought you reached, and all of those things come with great pain. So again, I'll repeat, it's not about the goal, it's about the journey, and it's about the feeling you think the goal will give you, and doing what we can to have that feeling, make that feeling the goal. But trying to achieve our goals is scary. We put our goals on pedestals because of how highly we regard happiness and fulfillment, and how desperate we are to have and to keep those feelings in our lives. And I'll speak a little on my own experience here. I'm someone who has always had very specific goals for myself. And as many of you know, I'm an actor, and it's been my dream for a long time to make a full income off of being a full-time working actor. It goes without saying, but a lot of luck is involved in this, and it's not an easy task to do, especially as someone who wanted that life as a theater actor. Maybe if I lived in LA or maybe even New York and was really interested in film and TV, that would be a bit more realistic for me, but my heart and soul loves theater, and my heart and soul just also loves Chicago. So anyway, that was a goal I set for myself in the location that I have chosen to be in. And the past few years, I have been grinding and grinding, doing anything I could to stay booked and to get more on my resume because I thought that that would bring me closer to my goal and ultimately closer to happiness. But I'm going to be so real with you, it was destroying me. It was doing the exact opposite. It was bringing me further and further away from happiness and further away from myself. And I accepted many contracts that I wasn't passionate about. I sacrificed a lot for the contracts I was accepting just to put them on my resume. And the work that I was doing wasn't emotionally fulfilling. It's not my goal. It was never my goal to have a quote unquote successful career in children's theater or Shakespeare, but I thought that taking those stepping stones and sucking it up and accepting those contracts would bring me closer to the goal I actually wanted to achieve, and therefore bring me happiness. But looking back on it now, I'm like, what is the point? Achieving goals takes a long time, and if I am miserable along the entire journey, will I really magically be happy once I achieve it? And even with the contract that I did last winter, where I was able to pay my bills solely through performing, I was so unhappy. I missed all the holidays with my family. It impacted my relationship at the time. I isolated myself in a different state and was so unhappy that I struggled to make friends. So, all's that to say, in that moment, I had technically achieved my goal of being a full-time performer, and turns out, didn't make me happy after all. Plus, not to mention that feeling of confusion and despair you get when you reach the goal that you set out for yourself and it doesn't bring you the feelings that you thought it was going to make you feel, because then now what? Where do I go from here? How do I feel fucking good for once? I thought that this was going to make me happy, and then I worked so hard to get here, and then, oh my God, it didn't. It didn't even make me happy. So now what? Well, this is where our core beliefs come into play, baby. This is doing the work. This is the painful stuff that we do anything to avoid, because for one, it's so much easier to seek external validation and to get those momentary hits of happiness from other people and other things and achieving random goals. But when that rush wears off and we're left with ourselves at the end of the day, shouldn't we want to be content with that? I want to recommend finding the why behind your goals. So let's take our career, for example. I'll use acting, honestly, since I can speak on it. So let's say your ultimate goal is to maybe be in a blockbuster movie or become an A-list celebrity. So why is this your goal? Is it the assumption of the happiness that is it the assumption of the happiness that it will give you, or the wealth that comes with it, or the adoration, the acceptance, the validation, the feeling of pride that it's going to give your friends and your family, the confidence you assume you'll feel when you get there? So, okay, now let's say you spend years grinding away, pounding the pavement, abandoning yourself along this way on this journey, making sacrifices, skipping the holidays, taking jobs you don't feel passionate about, losing out on quality time with your friendships, not having time to meet new people, make new experiences, whatever the sacrifices may be for you. And then let's say you do achieve that goal, but the movie flops. You spend 10 years trying to book a blockbuster movie and you finally did it. The blood, sweat, and tears paid off. This goal came true. But then the critics obliterate it. All this joy you thought the goal would bring you, well, it didn't bring you. And you wasted so much time doing the things that made you miserable in an attempt to reach this goal, as opposed to doing things that brought you joy on the journey to get there, or allowing the universe to maybe open other doors for you along the way for things that might potentially be even better for you. But because you were so dead set on this one goal, you slammed those doors shut. You actively shoved happiness and fulfillment away, probably without even recognizing it. And then you end up with nothing. Sorry if this is dark. I didn't mean for things to get ugly, but I guess what I'm trying to get at is, with goals that are so rigid, I think it absolutely hinders our path in this life. If you would have told me a year ago at this time that I'm working a full-time job now in an industry that's not performing, my gut reaction would have been so upset. I mean, I've had countless days sobbing about the thought of getting a full-time job and thinking that I'd be abandoning my dreams as an actor. But now that I've allowed these doors to open up for me, I'm finding that that's actually not the case at all. These past few months, I've been staying open to new possibilities, and I'm showing the universe how I want to feel and allowing doors to open for me. And I'm way happier at my job now, not to mention making way more money, than I was doing that performing contract in DC, doing the thing that I thought was achieving my goals. But hindsight is 2020 though, right? Of course, I thought I was making those right moves. In reality, I was reaching. My intuition knew deep down that it wouldn't make me happy doing that performing gig. I actually cried, not tears of joy, tears of true conflict when I got the offer. I was really torn. I really thought that what I needed to do to reach my goals and to be happy was to accept this contract, but my body and my intuition knew all along that's not really what would help me get there, and I didn't listen at the time. Okay, but let's go back to this blockbuster movie example. Let's say that things do go as planned and the movie is a hit and you reach the goal and it does make you happy, and maybe you weren't happy along the way, but the feeling of satisfaction that you got from the success made it all feel worth it. Okay, that's valid. But now you need to make a new goal and then another. And you want the next movie, the next hit of satisfaction. So you chase and you chase for this validation from these external sources, and you never actually stay true to yourself or end up enjoying your life. When our lives inevitably come to an end, what are we left with? We could be left with a memory of us chasing our rigid goals that never lead to fulfillment. I mean, God forbid. Or we could leave a legacy by loving ourselves so much that we are able to inspire and help others. And when I think about the new goals that I have for myself, performing is absolutely still one of them. I didn't just let my dream die, I'm restructuring my dream. And I know now that my rigid goal of needing to perform full time was one of the main contributors to my unhappiness, when I thought that it was one of the only things that could make me happy. It's also ironic, but performance and creativity is a part of me and it does bring me joy, and I would never deny that. I know that in my life I need to keep performing, but there is more than one purpose in my life. I can work the job I currently have during the day and help people and plan events and bring joy to others, which in turn brings joy to me. And then I can also find performance opportunities which fulfill me and bring me joy, and in turn bring joy to audiences or listeners. And I can also sing in my shower just to enjoy the sensation of singing and allowing myself to feel fulfilled by that. It's okay if no one is paying me to sing in my shower, and it's also okay if one day an opportunity arises because I left the door open for a performing job to pay me full time, and then I'll take it if I feel that it's aligned with me. But I'm not chasing things to meet this, I don't know, an impossible high standard goal that I think is going to bring me fulfillment. One part about validation that is particularly hard to detach from is the approval for doing well. I think a lot of us were raised in families or in a society where we felt extremely loved when we did well, whether that meant that we got good grades or we were high performing athletes, we won our speech competitions. We got praised for doing all those things, but we never got praised for feeling lost or confused or sad. We were never praised when we were just living life like normal either, not necessarily doing anything bad, but not making major accomplishments. And so we formed this core belief that achievement equals love and worthiness. And of course, there is no one to blame for this. It's only natural to receive extra praise when we do good things. But I think it's a huge factor into why we feel this need as adults to be the best, why we think we'll only be happy if we become super successful or meet these high standards or huge goals. So I challenge you to praise yourself and to show yourself love on a daily basis, to start rewiring these beliefs and to start doing things that, or to start praising yourself when you are doing things that may be considered as mundane. I took a shower today. That's amazing. I'm so worthy of love. I cooked a healthy, delicious meal. I'm so proud of me. And even if I didn't do either of those things, I still love myself and I'm still proud of myself because I'm doing my best each and every day. And sometimes life is hard, and that's okay. Now let's transition a little bit and move into self-fulfilling prophecies. Again, kind of back to the beginning, but self-fulfilling prophecies are truly one of the hardest pills to swallow, and they take an incredible amount of self-awareness and accountability. And I think we see this majorly in relationships, for one. It's a huge reason why we keep attracting the same kind of partner, or why we remain in the cycle of unfulfilling relationship, and this includes friendship, after unfulfilling relationship. And this all ties into core beliefs. If we have a core belief that we are unlovable, we will subconsciously act in self-sabotaging behaviors and patterns that keep proving this to be true. Additionally, I think it was in my first episode actually that I talked about the RAS, or the reticular activating system, which is the part of our brain that searches to validate our beliefs. So if we have beliefs that we are unlovable, our RAS will seek out proof of this. It is such a painful cycle. Let me give you an example. Your core belief, I'm unlovable. The actions that your subconscious may force you to take could be things like pushing your partner away when they give bids for intimacy, accusing your partner of cheating on you when they've given you no reason to believe that they would ever do that, picking fights with your partner over very small things, needing to constantly be in contact with them and needing them to constantly validate your feelings or constantly validate your worth because you're unable to do that on your own and you need someone else to constantly be telling you those things. The self-fulfilling prophecy, they break up with you because a relationship like that is not sustainable. Your core belief takes this abandonment as further proof that this belief is true, and thus the cycle continues. And then your RAS continues to seek this out by finding partners who make you feel unloved. However, getting to this core belief in the first place is incredibly painful and hard. Admitting it to yourself, like, no one wants to admit that deep down they believe they're unlovable, but until we can start disproving our own beliefs and understanding them as conditioned lies as opposed to hard truths, we continue to play the victim to the cycles of unhappiness that we find ourselves in. About a year ago, I was faced with a very ugly self-fulfilling prophecy that I have within myself, which is that I'm unworthy of being a performer and that I'll never be good enough. And I think this is extremely common with artists. So I was filming an audition and I was getting extremely frustrated with myself to the point where I could not even finish a take anymore. My perfectionist behaviors literally inhibited how do you say that? Inhibited me from being able to get through an entire scene because I could not stop criticizing my own performance. And a lot of the time when I would film self-tapes, I would get so frustrated that I would eventually just give up and end up submitting something that wasn't even my best work because I became so defeated and detached. And it was only after the fact of this one specific memory that I have when my partner at the time, who is also an actor, held up a mirror to my behaviors and said the reason that I can't get the job is because I won't let myself get the job. I won't let myself just be myself and film the take without judging it. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. It was really hard to swallow at the time, but also I knew that he was right. I knew that that was true. And if I let myself submit a shitty take, then I'm actually the one rejecting me instead of casting rejecting me. And if I criticize the fuck out of myself, it's not as painful than when a casting director either judges me or doesn't choose me because I judge myself first, so it can't be worse than that. I chose to not believe in myself, so why would casting believe in me? Newsflash, they won't. Second newsflash, it's not less painful. It is always painful. It's probably more painful. And because I'm stuck with myself at the end of the day, it is way more painful actually to be rejected by myself than it is to be rejected by anyone else in any capacity because I'm the only person that I can control. Someone else can choose to reject me, but I can't control that. However, it is my choice to reject me, and that hurts. So if self-fulfilling prophecies are inevitable, I want my self-fulfilling prophecy to be a prophecy that proves how lovable I am. And that has to start with loving myself. I found that the universe has been testing me lately Or maybe the universe has always been testing me, but I've just never viewed it that way. Actually, yeah, I've been through many tests and failed, so many of them. And I'm at this point in my life where I am drastically changing and finally wanting to change. So I'm kind of retrospectively seeing all these tests that I failed, or maybe I haven't failed them because I'm finally learning from them now, but I digress. So now when I'm being put in undesirable situations, instead of doing what I've normally done before, which goes something like, why does this keep happening to me? What did I do to deserve this, etc., or begging for validation from people in order to fill the void because I'm never giving it to myself, I am taking different actions and making different choices. I recently went through a pretty traumatic situation with someone that I thought I could decently trust. And while I did not deserve what happened to me in the slightest sense, I do feel like it was a major test from the universe on how I was going to move forward. So, for probably the first time in my life, I set a boundary that no, I do not deserve to be treated like that. I will not accept it, and you are out of my life non negotiably forever. Patience and forgiveness are virtues, yet they are things that you have to earn. And I will not give a second chance to someone that disrespects me or violates me with no remorse. For some of you, that may seem obvious, but for those of you that are used to setting those boundaries, I am fucking proud of you. But I know lots of us are still learning how to do that, coming out of needing that validation and praise from others to feel worthy, even if they destroy you. But people don't get to do that to me anymore. I'm breaking that cycle. And at Miss Universe, girl, consider that lesson learned, okay? So this episode was kind of all over the place, but I think to wrap things up, I just want to say the journey is the whole point. Goal setting is important, but goal rigidity is really limiting. So now for me, my goal is happiness, and my goal is to stay open and to allow things to come into my life with the expectation that happiness will find me. Really, what is meant for us will find us, and we won't have to grind to look for it. Stay aligned over focus on the grind. I like that. That trademark that. That was me, all me. And lastly, we are much more likely to be fulfilled by the goals that we achieve when they are bigger than us. When our goals are rooted in needing validation, that's when we fall into the grass is always greener hamster wheel. But when our goals are rooted in love, when our goals can help us reach a state of fulfillment where we can inspire and help others, that is the good stuff. What's more rewarding than knowing that you have a purpose outside of yourself? Even if it's something like fame. Do you want fame to fill your void of unworthiness? Or are you able to love yourself so much that you want to share that love? And now your goal of fame can give you a platform to help others. Just a simple reframing can help us reach our goals faster than we think. All right, I do apologize for the lack of structure in this episode, but sometimes you just need a good philosophical tangent, am I right? If I was able to help you in some way, please share with a friend. You can also follow my TikTok account at Everything Works Out for Us Pod, and you can interact with the polls on the episode to boost the algorithm or give me a 5-star rating. Any little bit of interaction helps. I love and appreciate all of you for listening, and I hope that you have a very loving and peaceful week. Until next time.